Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are San Diego.
And a high fly ball hit very well to left field. Kadyr's looking up, and he will touch them all. Norris has homered again. Padre catcher Derek Norris, a two-run home run last night in the 7-2 Padre victory against the New York Mets. And tonight it'll be James Shields on the hill. In the final game of a series in his career, his record is 48-24. As you look at the standings in the National League West, Giants lost again to Pittsburgh. The Pirates swept that series. They fall 2.5 back, and San Diego and Arizona, a winner today, Arizona, are 6 behind the Dodgers, who will play in Colorado, weather permitting. As we welcome you to beautiful Petco Park in downtown San Diego, the final game, 3-game series, the New York Mets and the San Diego Padres. And good evening, everyone, with Mark Grant, Dick Enberg. Pleased that you've joined us. The Padres trying to win a series for the first time since the 1st of April when they swept Colorado.
Well, I like the combination. James Shields on the hill and Yonder Alonso back in the lineup. It's good to have him back in the lineup, and he proved that last night, Dick.
Yeah, Alonso with 3 hits last night and hitting now .352 to lead the Padres.
Now, when you look at the offense this season with/without Yonder, it's the proof is right there in the pudding, and the numbers prove that. Putting the ball in play, batting 5th tonight. Hopefully the hitters before Yonder can get on base, and he's a gap guy. Once in a while, he can hit the ball out of the ballpark, and you know what? He's good to go. He made a diving play last night. He made that leaping play we just saw. He's happy. He's feeling very comfortable right now, putting the ball in play, which is a big key.
Interesting what one new bat or another bat in the lineup can do to the rest of the lineup. And Will Myers took batting practice today. He's going to be back shortly, we hope, and that should really make a difference and bring the Padres back to where they were at the start of the year when they opened the season 10-5. And how about this young guy, the #1 draft pick of the Padres a couple of years ago, Corey Spangenberg. He can fly. He's the fastest of the Padres. What does that mean? You'll know when we come back. Spangenberg's legs get him another hit. Spangenberg has the best wheels on the roster.
Welcome back. Game 3 between the Padres and the Mets, rubber match. And you saw last night the Padres got a lot of offensive production from their infielders, especially Corey Spangenberg. 3 for 3, a triple and a stolen base. You saw that speed, and it's something Dave Roberts says this lineup has to rely on.
It's definitely a different element that we need, that we like, and when he's in the lineup, there's that different dimension that something can always happen, and the ability to steal a base or get a bunt down and beat it for a single, and I think that more of Kotz working with him and Zoe is just getting on base, because once he gets on base, he creates tension and anxiety over there. So I think that he's really learning and taking to this plan pretty much every day right now, and getting better, making strides. But the element of speed is something that we definitely don't have, throughout our lineup. So it's imperative that he finds a way to use it.
So Corey Spangenberg brought the wheels back tonight for, guess what day it is? It's Wednesday. Rubber match, Padres, Mets. We got first pitch coming up on Fox Sports San Diego.
He shoots for his 7th win without a loss tonight, and trying to pick up the rubber game of this 3-game series and send the Padres on the road with a series victory. This is good luck. Mark in the back of the mound, and we're about set to go. Here is the New York Mets starting lineup, brought to you by Hyundai. Curtis Granderson will start things, and Ruben Tejada, Lucas Duda, their leading home run hitter with 9. Daniel Murphy will back cleanup. Shortstop Wilmer Flores. Then young Daryl Siciliani gets another start in left field for Kadire. Juan Lagares in center. Anthony Recker behind the plate tonight. And Dylan G on the mound.
And right-hander veteran James Shields. The scouting report for James Shields is brought to you by Anderson Plumbing, Heating, and Air. Hey, master of the off-speed. The changeup, big pitch. But recently, the curveball has come into play. A lot of swings and misses, and tough with runners on. It seems like when his back is up against the wall, he gets just a little bit more tough. And James Shields shuts him down.
It's his 12th start. He's just 2 strikeouts off the National League lead in strikeouts. Kershaw and Scherzer with 90. And the Padres defense behind him, brought to you by your San Diego County Ford dealers, with Upton in left, Venable in center, and Kemp back in right field. Middlebrooks and Amarista on the left side. Spanchenberg and Alonso will guard the right side of the infield with Derek Norris behind the plate.
Well, errorless baseball for this Padre team last night, which is a big key. Anytime you play a big league ball game, let's see if they can stay clean defensively tonight.
A couple of nice plays last night. Alonso making a spectacular leaping catch to save a double. Shields, 33 years old, from Newhall, California. Hart High School near Los Angeles, and Magic Mountain. In a way, that fits his working place, isn't it? The Magic Mountain pitching circle here at Petco Park. Set to go, Curtis Granderson. And we're underway. A swing and a miss. Padres employ the shift on Granderson. Only Middlebrooks on the left side, and he's shallow, edge of the grass. Take the bunt away. Back with a breaking ball, 1-1.
I have to say James Shields owns Curtis Granderson with those numbers. 119 career, back-to-back changeups from James.
And Granderson 7 for 59. And on his hands with a cutter. News elsewhere in baseball, and we'll go through some of those, but one, Fallbrook's own, the pride and joy, Mike Leake, the right-handed pitcher with the Reds, had a no-hitter into the 7th inning in Philadelphia, but the Phils came up with a base hit in the 7th. Check swing. Did he go? No, says third base umpire C.B. Buckner. Full count now to Granderson, who walks more than any of the New York Mets. He has 28 free tickets this year. Tejada waits his turn.
Hey, Dick, you go in the 7th inning throwing a no-hitter in Philadelphia, you're doing something right.
He's got good stuff. And a leadoff walk. Not a good sign at all. Walked that first man.
Well, the low average for Granderson at 228, but the on-base percentage right at 333 is where you want to be or above. So that's part of that on-base percentage, drawing the walks for Curtis Granderson.
Tejada, the last 5 games, hitting at a 476 pace to raise his average up to 288. He was hitting only 200 back in April, the first 19 games. So he's done a great job in correcting a bad start and now moving close to 300. Granderson has 4 stolen bases. Ball 1.
Well, you want to keep the pitch count down as we take a look at the percentage for Granderson. 80%, 4 out of 5. Best way to do that is roll a double play ball right here. Tejada has yet to ground into a twin killing this year.
Fly ball, right field shallow, angling out is second baseman Spanchenberg to the foul line, and in foul territory makes the play. Well, we had the Chargers here at Petco. 3 draft picks, the top draft picks: Melvin Gordon, Denzel Perryman, and Craig Major. Gordon, a southpaw, the running back from Wisconsin. Perryman, the linebacker. Boy, is he built, huh? And Major, a cornerback.
Yeah. That's why I think baseball players are the best athletes, and I'll tell you why after this first pitch.
Okay.
Because you saw those football players throw a baseball. You get a baseball player throwing a football, they look like they can throw a football.
Lucas Duda. But you've got to put the baseball player in pads and try to knock down a guy 235 pounds running 4.7.
That's true.
A little different.
That's true.
It is interesting, though, that football players don't throw baseballs very well. Lucas Duda with 9 home runs. And he hits that high in the air, shallow and right. Kemp calls off Spanchenberg, and that's the second out. DJ Fluker, the 300-pound tackle. Good luck, says Andrew Kastner. He goes right up to the rubber, and here's his overhand fastball. A little low and outside, but almost got it all the way to the plate.
And no matter where that pitch goes, you say, hey, nice throw.
That's right. Even when I threw the opening pitch up in Anaheim, Houston Street said, wow, that was good. I think he threw me a cutter. Feel good. Daniel Murphy, the cleanup hitter at 281. There's that good move of Shields.
Dick, he is so quick to first base with those feet. Shortening up the arm angle over to first base. And very accurate over to the first base bag as well.
Wait, and finally delivers to Murphy, and there's another base hit for Murphy. He has been red hot. Granderson, for some reason, stops at second base. And with 2 out, Wilmer Flores will be the hitter.
I think that might have been one of those plays where Granderson thought, if I go, I'm going to run into possibly the baseball. Might take a bad hop. Take a look. Let's see. Shuffle.
He backs off.
He
That's
actually,
why.
yeah.
So at that point, he lost all momentum and just makes it the next 90 feet. Boy, Murphy on the road this year, hitting .337, the 6th best in the National League, and another hit tonight. Had 4 hits in the opening game of the series. Flores, 3 hits in the series. He had an RBI single last night. Takes a strike. Curveball.
I like the idea of going soft on a hitter when there's a runner in scoring position for the first pitch. He's looking for the number 1. He pulls the string on him and gets ahead.
Out of play, and Shields ahead. 2 strikes on Flores. Lowest runner in scoring position production, and James Shields at the top of the list. Hitters batting 145 with a man in scoring position.
When the pressure is on, guess who's coming through?
Here's another test. In the dirt. Good dig by Derek Norris.
You know why that's so important, him smothering that pitch, is because keeping those runners at first and second, not only to move up, but the Padres can go the short way on a grounder up the middle rather than going to first base, any base, to get out of this inning.
Padres trying to deny the Mets in the first inning. They scored 2 in the first game of the series. They scored 1 last night, taking the early lead. 2-2, a changeup. Washington losing tonight in the 9th inning to Toronto, 8-0. The Mets start tonight only a half game behind the Nationals for the National League East lead. Two pitch. 1 hop to Middlebrooks. The force is right there at third, and the inning comes to an end. Again denying with runner in scoring position. Brought to you by Sony, the leader of 4K Ultra HD. And by Petco, what we feed them matters. Yeah, it was such a beautiful day here in San Diego. Some folks did wander out to the beaches. And many have come here tonight to enjoy the final game of this homestand. Padres lineup will be brought to you by Toyota. We'll wait until Will Venable settles in, hitting .260, with Norris and Upton to follow. Dylan G on the mound. And his first pitch right down the middle at 88. G, his first start coming off the DL. Injury was right groin. And a little more juice on that one, 90 miles an hour. He's 29 years of age, from Cleburne, Texas. 6'1", 204 pounds. Slice to the left side and back into the souvenir corner. Now here's the lineups brought to you by Toyota. Will Venable, Derek Norris, and Justin Upton the first three. Then Kemp hitting cleanup. Yonder Alonso back on the club. 3 hits last night. Middlebrooks, Spangenberg, Amarista eighth, and the pitcher Shields. 1-2. G has faced the Padres before, winning 2 and losing 2. He has quite a remarkable record. In fact, he's got the longest active streak, a high fly ball pulled down the right field line. It'll be out of play. He's gone 51 consecutive starts, pitching at least 5 innings, 51 in a row. You know who's second? James Shields. 49 straight games he's gone at least 5. So these two men take the ball, and they're going to give you a quality start. Left center field slicing. Over goes the left fielder Siciliani to make the play.
And let's take a closer look to right-hander Dylan G. He's a homegrown Met, and the scouting report is brought to you by Verizon. All 4 pitches, mostly fastball and slider. He'll throw that sinker. And an interesting nugget, 0-5 with a 5+ ERA last 8 road starts, going back to last year. And for a pitcher to come back from a groin injury, you better make darn sure that that thing is healthy and really good to go. It affects your stride. Get through the baseball.
Derek Norris. Infield hit and a home run last night. His average up to .287 with the 5 home runs. Second to Upton in RBIs. Only 3 behind Upton with 34. 1-1.
Dick, it's going to be a totally different look for these Padre hitters. DeGrom, Syndergaard, high 90s. There they are. There's David Wright on the left. Dylan G, 90-ish, 91 with the sinker.
Ground ball backhanded. No, under the glove of Tejada at third, and out to left fielder Siciliani. And Norris aboard. We'll see how they score it. Tough backhanded chance, but big league third baseman should make that play.
Let's see, does he back up on this ball and try to play the bigger hop? Yeah, I think he had time to play the big hop, the first hop, but he let that ball play him. I'm hoping that Derek Norris gets a knock.
Rolled in error.
Yeah, you're right, Dick. That play, that should be made by a big league third baseman.
So let's see if the Padres can take advantage of the extra out here in the first. Justin Upton, recovering from a tough night last night. 0 for 5 with 3 strikeouts. Big hole in left center field. They play the outfield toward right. Ball 1.
There's that big gap you're talking about. He gets something middle in. Where he likes it, that's his hot zone. He can turn on it.
And they play the corner outfielders into the gaps. They give Upton both the right field and left field corner. See where Arizona traded Mark Trumbo to the Seattle Mariners today. They got catcher Wellington Castillo, the former Cub who was traded to Seattle earlier during this season. Some minor league players involved as well. 2-0. And there's a lot of speculation around Major League Baseball, not just here in San Diego, about Justin Upton. Upton has a pretty good contract. He's going to make, as a free agent, a lot more money. Can the Padres afford him? And if not, will he be traded before the trade deadline so that the Padres get something in return? Goodness, I sure hope that we could, maybe the two of us, I got 100 I could throw in, and maybe you could got a 50, and let's try to keep him here.
Absolutely, and that's the whole thing. Winning ball games to keep him, and as the Padres go down the stretch, and hopefully Matt Kemp gets hot as well. And both these players are in Padre uniforms in August and September, because that'll mean that the Padres are in the hunt.
Absolutely. 3-0 now. He might be green lighted. Takes it at the knees. 3-1, right at the bottom of the strike zone. Lance Barrett is the plate umpire, with the crew chief Dale Scott at first, and Iasonia at second, and C.B. Buckner working at third. So 3-1. See if Norris might be going here. Nope. Ball 4. So the Padres have their second base runner. Norris pushed into scoring position for Matt Kemp.
You know what? Judging by the way G went about this at bat, I don't think he wanted to give Justin Upton much to hit. Why? Look, he's all over the map. Ball 1, ball 2, ball 3. He gets the call there, which is a strike, and that's off the plate. 4-1. And he knows, everybody knows the numbers for Matt Kemp. He's not swinging the bat well, so he will sacrifice. Possibly pitching to Kemp, get a grounder, get a strikeout. That's one of the things pitchers have to try to figure out.
Kemp's average dipping down to 242, still with the 1 home run. Against G, he's 2 for 5 and a couple of RBIs.
When you see the previous pitches to Upton, it'll be interesting to see how G goes against Kemp. Is he going to pound the zone right from the get-go?
They play Kemp in the outfield exactly as they did Upton.
See? Going right after him.
A June hitter in his career. 297 with 31 homers.
As the summer comes and heats up, hopefully Matt Kemp does the same and continues that trend. Let's see a changeup right here.
And fouls it away. 0-2.
Two-seam sinker. G relies on that quite a bit.
Ask one of the scouts that have been covering both the Mets and the Padres about Kemp. I said, what does your report say about him? He said his bat speed is still good, but his swing is looping and long. So that can be corrected.
Absolutely.
If you had said the bat speed has been reduced, then that's not so good.
Yep. Well, Mark Kotze, Alonzo Powell working diligently in that cage, or whatever a certain hitter does to try to get that swing better, whether it's off the tee, soft toss, live BP.
Dylan G's a deliberate worker, isn't he?
Mm-hmm. With that runner at second base, he and Recker not on the same page. That sequence.
A ball, 2 strikes, 2 on, 1 out here in the Padre first inning.
You almost have to think breaking ball here. Expand the zone.
Way outside. All right, I think I got you on this one. G, a collegiate at the University of Texas Arlington.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
I'm going to say the Armadillos. Beavers?
No.
Mean Green?
That's another school in Texas. How about the Mavericks?
Nice.
You knew
that
it.
fits.
Yeah, you know it. 2-2. And the count full. Good take by Kemp. Yonder Alonso with 3 base hits coming back to the lineup last night. He's on deck.
Everything's down and away.
Up the middle and into center field for a base hit. And holding at third is Norris as the throw comes in from Lagares. He's got a good arm, and that was a wise call by Glenn Hoffman to put up the stop sign, and a solid single up the middle for Matt Kemp.
Well, after the walk to Upton, G is throwing some pitches, and he's trying to just pepper that outside part of the plate. Down and away, down and away. Now, Matt Kemp, Dick, you mentioned a long looping swing. He was very short to that. It was down and away. Maybe Matt thinking if G's going to continue to go down there, why try to pull that baseball? A nice ground ball to the center field. That's a great at-bat for Matt Kemp.
Bases loaded then for Yonder Alonso. 20 pitches for G already in this first inning. Alonso not only with the top batting average at .352, the best on-base percentage of any Padre hitter. And it hit him, and that'll give the Padres a run. Jogging in is Derek Norris. An unearned run, but the Padres will gladly accept it. It's 1-0. This has been an awkward inning for G. An error, a walk, a single, and now a hit batsman.
You talk about taking one for the team. Right in the back of the knee. RBI for Alonso. Nice.
Norris scoring. Upton over to third. Kemp to second base. Alonso at first. 1 out for Will Middlebrooks.
That was a first pitch breaking ball. Just kind of held on to it a little bit too long.
Golden opportunity for the Padres to take a sizable lead here in the first inning. There's a 91-mile-an-hour fastball. Middlebrooks, the last 19 games, hitting .306 to raise his average to .240. 7 home runs. Ooh, breaking ball, and that fooled Middlebrooks. 0-2. Corey Spangenberg on deck.
Is G going to be willing to bounce a breaking ball here and trust his catcher Recker with that runner on third base?
Fly ball to center. Lagares, good arm, but that's pretty deep. That should score Upton. It will indeed. The throw's going to third base, and everyone moves up 90, and it's a 2-0 game. Middlebrooks with a sacrifice fly. Upton scores. Kemp to third. Alonso to second.
Stayed on that breaking ball just long enough. The front side opened up big time, but once again, that breaking ball up into the zone enough for him to elevate it to the outfield. I think he was a little reluctant to really bounce that one.
22nd run batted in for Middlebrooks. 2 men in scoring position for Corey Spangenberg. Padres with 2 runs on only 1 hit. Interesting. He's going to lay down a bunt with men at second and third. Spangenberg, a big night last night, was 3 for 3 with a walk. He stole a base, knocked in a run with a triple, and scored a run. One of his hits, a bunt single. Well, the Padres continue to do good work in that opening inning. 38 runs scored, best in the National League. That scoring first statistic we've gone over and over. It's a familiar refrain. You win when you score first, most of the time. Mets scoring first in the first 2 games of this series. The Padres, when they score first, are 18-6. 1-1 to Spangenberg. Second baseman Murphy right there. And that's the inning ender. But on 1 hit, the Padres score 2 and take the early lead.
his rehab today for the first time since injuring that left wrist about 2 weeks ago. Took batting practice today. Afterwards, said he felt great, no pain. So here's how the schedule works. He will join the team on the road trip. He'll take batting practice again on Sunday. And if he feels well, then he could start a rehab assignment as early as this weekend. And by the way he was hitting the ball during batting practice, Myers has not missed a beat, was crushing the ball, and was like a little kid afterwards, was so excited just to be able to be out there, as you can imagine.
Well, that's really good news, Chris. Thank you. And I heard he hit a couple of balls out of the ballpark, so he wasn't just swinging free and easy and just taking it softly on that wrist. He made some major league cuts, and that is indeed good news. Get him back in the lineup. He's the energizer. Line drive into the right field corner. That ball's hit well by Siciliani, and it's up against the boards and bounces into the Petco porch. Siciliani, 3 for 21, the rookie, and a line drive double.
See, it looked like something was off speed that he kind of sped. Let's see, it speeds up. No, it was a changeup. Middle in.
It's his first major league extra base hit. His 3 hits were singles. And with no one out, he stands at second. Lagares, Recker, and G to follow. Mets were 2 for 4 runners in scoring position last night, and they're hitting .400 in the series, 6 for 15. Line drive, but Kemp is there, right at the right fielder, tagging and doving across. Here's the throw, and he is out of there. What a throw by Kemp. Oh, my. Siciliani takes a chance. It's a risk and reward with 1 out. You want to get over to third base. And Kemp, a clothesline throw to third, and they may challenge it.
You know the amazing thing about this? Matt got back. He was going back, retreating, but yet got back enough. And Middlebrooks, I think he got him. I don't think his hand was on the bag yet. Nice job by Will with his leg. Wow.
Here's a better angle. Does he get his hand on the bag before they tag him on the back?
There's the tag. He's out.
Yeah. What a throw. Oh. Not only was it accurate, but the bounce came right in on the bag. Absolutely perfect. No challenge. Terry Collins, the manager, convinced as he talked with his runner that he indeed had been tagged out before. The runner knows when he feels the contact, whether he got his hand on the bag before.
I love plays like that. I love that.
Big double play, huh? Put a 9-5 in your scorebook, fans. Anthony Recker, backup catcher with Travis d'Arnaud, still on the injured list, the regular, and they're anxious for him to get back in the lineup. Recker only 34 at bats, got half a dozen hits, but a couple of home runs in the 6 hits.
Dick, you know what I liked about that play is that Matt Kemp, he was pedaling back, but yet got back quick enough to get the ball underneath him there and then start his momentum before he caught the baseball, just enough to throw a P-Rod and a 1-hop strike to Will Middlebrooks.
Yeah, there was all that talk in the offseason. Can Kemp still have his defensive skills? No, they've been no doubt. He's done everything you could ask of a right fielder.
He's gone to his right. He's gone to his left. He's going back on the wall. He's come in and dove for some for some hits, taking away extra bases.
Full count now to Recker. Claimed off waivers from the Cubs back 3 years ago was Recker. He's 31 years of age. With the Mets the last 2 years. Hit .201 last season. And strike 3 called, says Lance Barrett. The first strikeout for James Shields. A leadoff double, Siciliani, but he runs into the arm of the law. Matt Kemp, the sheriff, throws him out. It's 2-0 Padres as we go to the bottom of the second inning. Alexi Amarista to lead it off. Shields and then Venable at the top of the order to follow. Alexi last night with a couple of hits, a 2-run single and a double into the left field corner. Hits that one high in the air to shallow center. Lagares waits. And there's one away. Well, let's check on the keys to the game tonight. Brought to you by your San Diego County Honda dealers.
Well, key number one, rattle G early. The Padres doing a pretty good job at that, dropping a 2 spot in the bottom of the first. Hopefully they can continue that trend and keep spreading the wealth. What I mean by that is last night the Padres 14 hit attack, but hitters 5 through 8, 7 hits collectively. Keep it going. Top of the order, get it going as well. It was just, spread the wealth. Everybody was into the act last night.
Well, except the 3 and 4 hitters,
right.
Upton and Kemp, but they've already contributed tonight. Share the wealth. James Shields is a 4 for 26 hitter. There's Ian Kennedy. Good to see him back in form.
That was really nice to watch last night.
He went around. I predict that Shields is going to hit a home run before the season is over.
I would take that bet. Absolutely.
Game close at Dodger Stadium, or is it Anaheim or Dodger Stadium? Almost to the wall in left field.
Was it Anaheim?
I have to double check here. Anaheim. High fly ball on the infield. And the out squeezed by the third baseman Tejada. The Mets defense brought to you by Renovation Realty. Siciliani in left, Granderson in the right field corner, Lagares the center fielder, Gold Glove. Tejada and Flores at third and short, Murphy at second, Duda the first baseman, Recker behind the plate for G. Venable flying to left field this first time. Yeah, it was at Dodger Stadium. Shields had a single and then a long out to left field. That was back on Sunday, May 24th. Well, last year, this confrontation produced a home run by Will Venable against Dylan G. Into the chat deck in right field. Strike 3 called. A 3-pitch strikeout for Dylan G. His first strikeout of the game. And we go to the third. The Padres up 2-0.
There's no doubt about it. But I definitely like the 5-man rotation for sure. Sometimes I get on a 6-man rotation and it's almost too much rest. But I understand the concept, and I have no qualms with it by no means. But it's I definitely like the 5-man rotation.
Welcome back. James Shields on the 6-man rotation. He's never been a part of one, but says even when you have that extra day off and it pushes your start back a day, sometimes that's a little too much for him. We actually asked Buddy Black about the possibility of it with Brandon Morrow coming back around the corner, and he said not for this team that doesn't work. He understands why it works for the Mets, but obviously someone will have to go to the bullpen, which Mark and Dick brought up an interesting conversation on our pregame show.
Indeed, about the 6-man versus the 5-man rotation, and also there's implications for the upcoming road trip. You have an off day, and now I think Bud Black is juggling as to whether or not to change his pitchers this weekend in Cincinnati. Strike 3 as D caught looking, second strikeout for Shields. Right now, Ross is expected to start Friday night, and then Despagne Saturday, Cashner Sunday. And there's thoughts that Darren Balsley and Bud Black go through the rest situation, whether Cashner should go Saturday and Despagne Sunday. Get Cashner on a 5-day rotation.
Exactly, and like that alludes to what James Shields said. He likes to be in that routine, that once every 5th day. But I could see where it works for the Mets. It's not a template for every organization. As I mentioned with Mark Sweeney, the pregame show, it's protecting your investment and watching how many starts and how many pitches they throw if you have an abundance of pitching.
Granderson inside. But we all are creatures of habit, and the pitchers are used to in their professional career going every 5th day, and they'd have to make that adjustment. Terry Collins, the skipper of the Mets.
And they could use that for a month. They could use it for 3 weeks. Yeah. They could use it for 6 weeks.
Or they could trade one of the 5 and get another player. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities, but as you pointed out, at one time that were 4 days. You pitched every 4 days, and then when they went to 5, you said, whoa, isn't that a little too much rest?
Yeah.
And here we are talking about a 6-day cycle. Right of Midland, Michigan, Terry Collins. Granderson 3-1, pops it high, shallow left center field. Upton calls off Venable. 2 away here in the 3rd. Tonight's game presented in HD by Sony 4K. With 2 outs, Ruben Tejada, the hitter. He fouled out to second baseman Spangenberg.
Looks like James Shields is battling a bee or something out there on the mound. He's dodging something.
Those are sometimes more frightening than line drives.
I hate bees.
They do so much good work. You
They
have
do.
to
I
show
know.
some love for them.
Pollinating and all that stuff.
You just don't like what happens if they sting you. I mean, the bee's okay. It's just that.
No, the bee's going to die.
Yeah, I know. That's right. They give it up.
Yeah.
Fly ball to right. Kemp going back. He says, I've got it, and squeezes the final out here in the 3rd. Middle of the 3rd inning. Padres coming up, home half, and it'll be Derek Norris to start things. Justin Upton, Matt Kemp to follow. third under and over the glove of Tejada, an error, and eventually scored a run. And here are his credentials for All-Star balloting. I hope you're casting your ballot. Last 9 games, a .316 pace, so RBI per game, 9 runs batted in 9 games, a couple of home runs. And he is delivering the extra base hits, especially the double. He's a specialist in 2 base hits. "17 doubles is second best in the major leagues, not just catchers, everyone." Line drive, foul.
And that's why he hit some doubles. He can murder the hanging breaking ball. Hit a home run the other night on a hanging breaking ball. That one just a little bit too quickly out in front.
Padres scoring a couple of runs in the first inning. An error, a walk, a hit batsman, a single, and a sacrifice fly. Outside, not by much. Dylan G was the opening day pitcher last year for the Mets. Finished the year 7-8. Ground ball toward the hole. Tejada cuts it off. The long throw is wide and safe again is Norris. A couple of errors by Tejada at third.
Well, you know, this brings up an interesting point because with David Wright out of the lineup and Terry Collins telling Tejada that he's going to be the guy, you know, I don't know if the Mets, how much longer they're going to go without going out and getting a third baseman. Who knows? But Tejada, once again, I think he kind of plays this ball, let this ball play him. Rushes the throw towards the home plate side.
No chance for Duda to make the slap tag. So Upton, he walked and scored in the first. By the way, if you're keeping score, both those runs by the Padres in the first inning were unearned. The error by Tejada giving the Padres that 4th out. Had he fielded Norris's ball cleanly, then the Mets would have been out of the inning with the bases loaded and no one scoring. He got his pitch there,
yes.
Upton.
Yes, he did.
So the Padres conclude this short homestand. They go on the road for 3 in Cincinnati over the weekend, then 4 in Atlanta. When they come back, it'll be the Dodgers. A Friday, Saturday, Sunday series, and Oakland comes in for a couple of games on Monday, Tuesday. I hope you're making your plans to be with us. Inside, 2-1. Toward the hole, tough play. They try to go to second, and they do get the force. Good play made to get the lead man without Norris aboard. That's an easy infield hit for Upton. Safe on the fielder's choice.
This is a nice play. Going to his left and then having to turn all the way around 180 degrees and firing a strike with Daniel Murphy at second base being the first baseman. Nice stretch by Murphy.
Young Flores going into the hole, and that was an excellent and accurate throw. Matt Kemp singled, the only hit for the Padres so far. That kept things going in that 2-run first inning. Loaded the bases. Alonso was hit by a pitch for 1 run, and Middlebrooks' sacrifice fly knocked in the second. Lifted to right. Granderson is there. 2 away.
Hey, follow the Padres all season long in 2015 with MLB.com at bat. It's the #1 app for live baseball. At bat is up to the moment, at any moment, with in-game highlights, live look-ins, replay reviews, radio broadcast, StatCast, and much, much more. Get MLB.com at bat for your smartphone or tablet. Check up on other games when you're at the ball yard.
I mean, I just think about how the media coverage of this great game has changed in my lifetime. It's just incredible. Now you can get everything. I mean, you don't need to be left out of any major league game. News, game action. When I was a kid living in the San Fernando Valley, that you couldn't wait to the Sunday paper because then you would get the major league hitting and pitching statistics. You waited a whole week to get that. No television. There were radio broadcasts of the Pacific Coast League games, but not the major league games.
So one day a week you got the chance to see those stats.
Yeah, you had your favorites, and you'd see how a certain player had done. Line drive, Alonso running all the way. Upton, he'll make it easily to third, and Alonso hit by a pitch, and now a single as he come back in force. On base for the 5th time in 6 at-bats.
Well, after the first at-bat getting hit by pitch, Yonder Alonso says, "Hey, what up, G?" Takes that fastball and rips it through the right side cleanly, right on the sweet spot. Word on that, G.
Trying to think, and working the plow horse. G and Haw, one is right, one is left. You don't want to.
Was it really? Seriously?
Yes.
See, I just learned something. I love that old school stuff.
You got to be sure what train you're pulling, Noah. We better go double check the G and the Haw. Will Middlebrooks sacrifice fly his first time up. 22nd RBI. First and third, 2 outs here in the third. Padres 2-0.
G does have that good two-seam fastball. If he can locate that 8 out of 10 times down and away to a righty, he's going to have some success. He's going to get a lot of ground balls.
Center of the diamond wide open for Middlebrooks. Check swing. Did not go on the slider. 1-1.
They may have got one there. There's that hole on the right side you're talking about, Dick.
In center field, their favorite play, that ground ball to the center fielder.
I love that play as well.
That ball hit well to left field, high and deep, and not far enough. Siciliani making the catch. Middlebrooks just missed a 3-run dinger. Going into the series, had one yesterday and another one today. The Pirates 5-2 sweep the series in San Francisco. They continue their fine play. And the Giants now have lost 5 in a row. National League standings, counting the games today. San Francisco winning or losing, and Arizona winning. Giants fall 2.5 behind Los Angeles. They're sitting in the rain in Colorado tonight. That game has not started as yet. Boy, they've really had miserable weather in Denver this month of May and June. They had to play a doubleheader yesterday because of rain out the last time the Dodgers were in Colorado. Top of the 4th inning. It's Duda, Murphy, and Flores. So just to finish up on the G and the Haw.
Yeah.
Apply it to baseball. G is right.
Okay.
And Haw is left. So
we need a left-hander, Haw, the last name of Haw.
Well, or G, the right field would be Kemp, and our Haw guy is Upton tonight.
Okay.
Rip foul.
Look out.
Watch out. That fortunately did not go into the crowd. Raised some pulse rates, however.
Well, Mark Sweeney is down there. He will protect the Friar faithful. And Mark, first of all, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Secondly, how about that nice swing by Yonder Alonso singling to right field last half?
Yeah, I think it set it up last night, especially with that swing against the left-hander, the reliever that came in. When Yonder Alonso's at his best, he simplifies a lot of things, and you can see his hands working so nicely, and obviously that line drive on his last at bat looked very good. And you take a look at just what he uses. The lower half works very well. It's in sync with his upper half, and using his hands. And remember, last year, and we've seen some problems with Yonder Alonso over swinging. You don't see that much this year.
Content with the line drives. Get the singles and doubles. The home runs will take care of themselves. Duda at the plate to lead it off for the Mets. A count 1 ball 2 strikes. Fly to right field his first time. Shift is on. Spanchenberg out in shallow right. Swing and a miss on a curveball. That's the 3rd strikeout for James Shields. And he now, at this moment, leads the National League in strikeouts with 91.
We know what can happen when James Shields gets the feel for that curveball, that changeup, a lot of swings and misses. Phil's barbecue.
That does look good, doesn't it? You get that nice smoky taste, huh?
That's why we like doing our instructionals, guys. We go right by the barbecue pit. It's nice.
Daniel Murphy continuing his hot hitting, singled sharply to right field his first time. 1 of 2 hits given up by Shields, the other a double by Siciliani. 2-0. How about Murphy's swing? What do you see there?
Well, it's a nice swing. Obviously, the exploits of what people talk about is defensively he lacks in defense, but offensively, very simple approach, that wide stance and using his hands.
Rolls that one to Alonso. The rest is easy. The unassisted put out for the 2nd out here in the 4th. Brings up Wilmer Flores. Flores a big at bat in the 1st inning there. 2 on for the Mets and 2 outs, and he hit a ground ball to Middlebrooks for a force out at 3rd. I'll give you time to think about it, Mark Sweeney, and you too, Mark Grant. But go into your hitter's bank of knowledge and give me the player currently in the National League that you think has the most perfect swing, has the best, not complicated, best swing. Not necessarily the guy that's getting the most results, but if you're just going to draw up, tell the kid this is how you make a perfect baseball swing, who would that artist be?
I got my answer.
Righty or lefty, doesn't matter. Dave?
Doesn't matter.
Mark, go ahead.
Miguel Cabrera. Simple swing, good approach, can handle both sides of the plate with power, but also he can hit off the plate, which makes him, I think, the best hitter in the game of baseball.
Yeah, that's a good call. I'm going to go within the division. I really like the swing of Buster Posey.
I do too. Yep. Amen on both those. So we got American League and the National League. That's in there. 2-2. Flores, bases empty, 2 outs here in the 4th. What's interesting is you both picked right-handed hitters. Normally, when you say a beautiful swing, you think left-handers. Just for whatever reason, they just seem to be so fluid and graceful, more so than a right-handed hitter, like that guy, Tony Gwynn. Yes, we're coming up on the anniversary of his death in the next couple of weeks. We'll remember Tony. Very special show here on Fox Sports San Diego.
You know, guys, you see that statue, there's so many emotions that you go through, and you put a smile on your face because you remember so many great things that Tony did, and watching him on the field, but off the field, and, you know, emotionally, we obviously miss him so much, but on the field, there was no better swing in my estimation that I saw.
In the dirt, full count.
Here, Mark Sweeney.
Fans around the country never had the full appreciation of how great Tony Gwynn was. Tucked away here in the south of the state of California, and not 3 hours behind the publishing time of all the newspapers back east. Ground ball foul. That, see, what was it, 8 batting titles?
Yes. 8.
Only Honus Wagner, National League, and Tony Gwynn.
It's unbelievable. It really is.
There he is, 19 forever. You see that number, can't help but think of Tony Gwynn.
I don't say unbelievable because obviously it is believable because we saw him day in and day out. It's just unbelievable that we were in his presence nearly every day.
Lined, and it's carrying to Upton. 1, 2, 3 go the Mets in the fourth. Always a salute, Mr. Padre, Tony Gwynn.
You know, wants big nights from Upton and Kemp every night. And those guys had a tough night, and we ended up still scoring 7 runs. So you need production from everybody. You know, again, we're not going to win or get to where we want to be by being a two-man show. You know, everybody has to contribute on any given night, and that's always what we're looking for.
Bud Black talking about the production offensively from the infielders yesterday. 9 hits, 3 RBIs.
And the drive to left field, and Siciliani runs into the wall and out of play on Spangenberg's foul ball. Go ahead, Chris.
Oh, Dick, Buddy's exactly right. You can't just rely on a two-headed horse of Matt Kemp and Justin Upton on nights that they don't produce. And Buddy went on to say, great to see Lexi Amarista have the night that he had, getting the 2 hits and the 2 RBIs, and that he believes that his numbers will eventually get back to above 200 and back to where he is for a career. So got to rely on those infielders as well to produce offensively.
And they honestly have not, especially the middle infielders, prior to this series. They had only 28 RBIs between them. Spangenberg spanks one to center field. And it He is a key part of that discussion as we check our T-Mobile game changer. Last night, here they are, the bottom of the order. Do the math for you. 9 for 16, 5 runs scored and 3 knocked in.
Getting those opposing pitchers into the stretch last night, a job well done. And as Bud said, if the two horses, main horses, 3 and 4, aren't doing the job, somebody's got to pick them up. And that was the exact situation last night.
Amarista up infield at the corners. Look for a possible bunt. He's swinging, and another line drive to center field. He followed the lead of Spangenberg. Both men going up the middle. Good start to this 4th inning.
Well, Mark Sweeney seems to be a little contagious. Spangenberg 3 hits and a walk last night. Amarista 2 knocks. How about this swing here?
Yeah, it's all about team offense, and for Alexi Amarista getting off the plate just a little bit. Looked like he stuffed himself a little bit too close to the plate. Now he's getting his hands extended with that nice line drive into center field. Guys, you look back at last night's game, I thought one of the big moments was probably the shortest hit last night, Spangenberg's bunt, and him hustling down and getting on base. You have to show your weapons, and it might be a bunt, it might be one of those easy singles, but that's what was the difference maker last night in the emotion of the game.
And speaking of bunt, here's a situation where Shields can help himself with a successful sacrifice bunt. Get those 2 men over to second and third and let Venable and Norris have a shot at building on this 2-0 lead. A perfect bunt. Great bunt. G's going to have to hurry, and he gets Shields by a stride. Can't draw it up better than that. Over to third goes Spangenberg. Amarista moves to second.
You know, I'm surprised that there was nobody. I mean, sometimes you want to put on the wheel play because this ball was bunted hard enough to where if the third baseman comes and Tejada gets it, they could possibly get it at third. But Shields does a nice job. Perfectly places that bunt down the third base line.
So Venable with the infield tight, hitter's delight. He is flying to left and struck out. Shields there in the dugout, pleased with his effort. Looper over second, base hit, 2 runs will score. Amarista sprints in, no throw. It's 4-0 Padres. Venable delivers. Broken bat single to right.
Well, in his second at-bat last night, Will Venable had a 2-run triple. Here is a 2-run broken bat single. Thank you very much. Fighting it off, high fives all the way around. Bottom of the order coming through, turning it over towards the top.
And this is one of those innings that makes the manager smile. You get your 7 and 8 hitters lining singles. You get your pitcher to perform a sacrifice bunt perfectly, and then Venable to deliver. 1 out to Derek Norris. Safe on both at bats on errors by the same man, Tejada at third base. One on a ball he didn't field, the other on a bad throw. Ball 1. The Padres trying to win a series. They took 2 out of 3 in Anaheim. They split the 4 games with the Pirates. And this is the rubber game against the Mets.
Guys, you love the game within the game, and right now playing from ahead with the Padres, so many different options for Will Venable, especially in a running situation like this, possibly trying to steal a base and giving an option for Derek Norris to look for that fastball.
That right side wide open for Norris. They try to put a little run and hit. Good lead by Venable. Check back by G.
With that 2-seam fastball that G throws down at third base, Tejada, he's kind of guarding the line a little bit because Derek Norris will turn on that 2-seamer. He is a step and a dive away from that line down at third base.
On the corner.
That's paint.
1-2 to Norris. 4 runs and 5 hits for the Padres. No runs, 2 hits for the Metropolitans. Up the middle, off the leg, and that's saved. A base hit. Over to first, a double play. 1-6-3. So if G doesn't use his legs to hit that ball and carry it to the shortstop, that would have been into center field. Instead, a double play ball. The Padres will settle for 2 and lead 4-0. Here in the 5th, it'll be Siciliani, Lagares, and Recker for the Mets. And the players of the month have been announced. And the rookie of the month of May, Chris Bryant of the Cubs, 7 home runs, 22 runs back. What kind of a month? Bryce Harper, 13 home runs. There's 5 months in a season. That projects to 65 homers. What a month. And Scherzer, 5-1.
So the 1-2 punch for Harper and Scherzer on the East Coast in the nation's capital, Mark Sweeney. When you take a look at these Nationals going into today, a half a game over the New York Mets. What do you think about these Nationals a couple months into the year?
I think they've underachieved, to be honest with you. I know they're in first place, but everyone knows what that rotation's done. Now you have Steven Strasburg that's hurt, but it's a very talented club. We saw them, but also they've been dealt with some adversity too, but the talent is definitely there.
First pitch to Daryl Siciliani is a strike. He doubled in the 2nd inning. That's the last base runner allowed by Shields. Now retiring 8 in a row if you count the double play, 9 in a row. 1-1.
Guys, you think of what Bryce Harper did in the game of baseball for that month, and obviously the confidence is rising. But that show that he put on with the home run power and changing his ways, and now 22 years old, the game is right in front of him.
And you know what, guys? I look at Bryant, I look at Harper and Scherzer. The opposition, they're out to get those guys, right? So it's about adjustments. Chris Bryant, 2nd time around, maybe how they pitch him, how he adjusts. Bryce Harper, everybody's been trying to get to that kid ever since day one. And then, of course, hitters are trying to get to Max Scherzer. It's all about adjustments and how long you can stick around this game and make a difference. 2
hops to Alonso, an easy out Siciliano. First baseman unassisted, and here's Juan Lagares. And a look at the defense of Matt Kemp. If you're just joining us, look at this strike to third base. Nailing Siciliani, trying to advance to third. And I think all of us, when Kemp unleashed the throw, thought Siciliani's going to make it. On the money. What a throw.
Mark Sweeney, I'll be quite honest with you. When this play was developing, I didn't really think it was going to be even that close, but Matt Kemp proved me wrong on that one.
Well, obviously the arm you marvel at, but there's a couple aspects of that play. It's very hard to get back and feel like an outfielder, because you always want to press forward to try to get momentum into that throw. He did a nice job of that. And then on the back end, Will Middlebrooks putting that left foot down on the bag and making that awkward slide. And I think that was a difference maker. A nice tag on the back end.
Juan Lagares, he's the man who lined that ball to right field to Kemp. It turned into a double play, but try goes foul.
You know, guys, you take a look at it, watch that left foot of Will Middlebrooks, and that's where they want to slide, on that outside part of the bag, and he applies the tag, and a beautiful ending to that play. But a beautiful throw by Matt Kemp gave them the opportunity to do that.
You know, that's why, after this pitch, Al, that's why I'm a big fan of the pop-up slide.
He goes around. Strike 3. That's the 4th for Shields.
I think infielders will be a little bit more reluctant blocking the bag when a guy comes in spikes first. I'm not saying coming in high spikes, but if a guy's coming in head first with the hands, hey, prop yourself down in there. Get in front of it. It's a good way to dislocate a finger, tear a tendon in your thumb or whatever.
10 in a row now retired by Shields as Anthony Recker steps into the batter's box. He struck out, took a 3rd strike his first time. Ground ball to 3rd. 2 nice hops to Middlebrooks. Easy inning for James Shields. We're at the halfway mark in this one. 4.5 in the books. The Padres lead 4-0. Brought to you by Saquon Casino, only 25 miles from Petco Park. And by Jack in the Box. Try the new Double Jack today only at Jack in the Box. Beautiful shores of our great county as we welcome you back to Petco Park. Bottom of the 5th inning, the Padres with a 4-0 lead. Justin Upton, Matt Kemp, and Yonder Alonso scheduled. Upton walked and scored in the first, safe on a fielder's choice. Would have been a base hit, deep but short, but with a runner at first base, shortstop Flores able to get the throw over to second for the force out. First 53 games compared to 2011. Obviously better marks this year. He fouls that one away.
A nice grab by that gentleman right there.
Way down and miss, 1-2.
Well, I like the quick inning in the 5th against the Mets for James Shields, getting that momentum and getting that offense back in the batter's box for San Diego. Give James a little bit of breather.
11 straight retired by the right-hander. That one's going to fall into center field. Not well hit, but a nice soft single for Justin Upton. Padres have their 7th hit. Make that their 6th.
Well, you take a look at the swing of Justin Upton and that short stride, but getting his hands on top of that baseball. Yes, it's a soft single into center field, but with 2 strike, that is just smart hitting and good job of getting the barrel of the baseball.
So leadoff man on again for the Padres. 3rd straight inning. The first hitter safely aboard. Kemp, a single and a fly to right. Upton goes. Recker's throw right on the money. Oh, he didn't hold on though. The ball was there in time for the out, but second baseman Murphy unable to hang on to it. It may be that Upton actually kicked it out of his glove on the slide. Take another look. No, he actually did not have it in the webbing.
Right.
So the 11th stolen base for Justin Upton.
Hey, once again, Upton sliding in feet first. You think the infielder's kind of a little gun shy? I'm not saying that's the case, but I'll tell you what, if you're coming in feet first, I think it's a different story.
And Kemp follows with a sharp single to left. Upton had to hold, make sure that line drive wasn't caught. Oh, a 2-hit night for Matt Kemp. Runners at first and third, and no one out in the 5th inning.
3rd time around for Matt Kemp, and first pitch fastball. In a little bit, got his hands in nicely.
So Padres at the corners. And as
pitching coach Dan Worthen out to have a chat with G.
As he does so, it's a big day in history for New York and baseball. In 1980, a very big day for the New York Mets. That was the first round of the draft in 1980, and the Mets selected Darryl Strawberry from L.A. Crenshaw High School. If you want to go back farther, as you see Jack Leathersich, we saw him last night out of the bullpen. Lou Gehrig on this date in 1932 hit 4 home runs and just missed a 5th home run. And I'll give you one more. Yankee Stadium, 1937. A Negro League game at Yankee Stadium. Catcher Josh Gibson hit a ball to left field 2 feet below the facade in left field, measured at 580 feet.
He could hit.
I mean, that's a mortar shot.
Yeah.
Yonder Alonso with a single. He was hit by a pitch in the 1st inning where the base is loaded, so an RBI, his 11th. And a chance to add to the 4-0 lead.
And with that breaking ball for a ball, that strike zone just kind of shrinks a little bit more for Alonso to get the pitch that he would just love to turn on. Nice. Good take on the changeup.
Infield back looking for a double play. They'll sacrifice a run for a chance at 2. Ball hit hard at Tejada at 3rd. He could come to the plate. But anything pulled or up the middle is going to score another Padre run. Change up, 2-1.
Guys, these situations got to be driving the opposing managers crazy. Dylan G's spot the pitcher spot up first the next inning. And then you see a guy coming off the disabled list and struggling back-to-back innings.
And I'm sure they're monitoring his pitch count now at 67. I think the most he threw in 3 rehab starts was 70. Another changeup back to back.
Nothing but soft stuff. First pitch curveball. Changeup, changeup, changeup to Alonso.
And that's got to have him thinking, what am I going to get next? What do you think, Mark?
I think he's going to go off the plate with soft again. Why not? A guy can throw 4, 5, 6 fastballs in a row. Why not throw 4, 5, 6 changeups in a row?
Looks like a changeup. And it's off the plate. Full count. Upton and Kemp at the corners. And that one pulled sharply foul. Also on this day in history, and a very important piece of poetry was published in 1888 in the San Francisco Examiner. Ernest Thayer's Casey at the Bat.
Oh,
published
nice.
for the first time.
Was there ever joy in Mudville?
That's it. There is no joy.
Yeah. Mighty Casey has struck out.
Oh, my. Pulled on the bounce foul. He didn't work oh my into the beautiful poetry. You know, what's interesting about it is he didn't think it was very good, Thayer, and he actually used a pseudonym because he didn't want anyone to know that he wrote it. And then other people started taking credit for it. He said, whoa, 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 that's mine.
Like that kid's going to go with that ball. That's mine. And nobody else can have it. Good for him.
Another 3-2 pitch.
I'd like to see Alonso split the gap right here.
Up the middle, knocked down by G. The throw to the plate is wide. Scoring is Upton. And over to third goes Kemp. On his way to second is Alonso. And let's hope Upton's okay. He really tumbled awkwardly. Appears to be okay. So G trying to stop the flood of runs here at 4. Throws one away. It's now 5-0. And with no one out, runners at second and third.
Well, this could have been dangerous. As Justin Upton comes home, G gets it on the backside behind his back. Now here, watch this slide. He gets caught up. Oof. Recker's knee gets on the leg of Upton. He scores. This could have been much more nastier here. Ankle, knee, shin. Yeah. Back end over tea kettle.
Well, here's how the scoring goes on that. It's a fielder's choice and an error on the throw by G. So you can give Alonso an RBI. And the runners move second to third with no one out on the error. And Middlebrooks, the batter, he's knocked in a run with a sacrifice fly. 5-0 Padres. Drive to right center field, and that's up the alley. Cut off by Granderson, but by the time he gets it in, the Padres score 2 more. It's 7-0. Middlebrooks delivers.
Padre hitters swinging early in the count, particularly Upton, Kemp, and now Middlebrooks. And why not jump all over that two-seamer knee high and stand inside that baseball, a ball he could have very easily pulled, but sends it to the right center field gap. And there is high fives all the way around. There is joy in Friarville as we speak.
Not joy for Dylan G. His string of 51 consecutive games going 5 innings ends tonight. No outs here in the 5th inning. And Jack Leathersich is the new pitcher for the Mets. And the pitching change brought to you by El Cajon Ford. We saw this left-hander last night. He worked an inning and a third, gave up a couple of hits, but no runs.
Hard holding back the smiles for the Padre faithful here at Petco Park tonight.
Corey Spangenberg, a single in 2 trips. He scored a run. Getting word from the official score, no RBI for Alonso, but had that throw been accurate and the runner would beat the throw, then it would have been an RBI. Well, Yonder won't complain. On base 3 times again tonight. But Middlebrooks with 3 runs batted in. As Dylan G's string of 51 consecutive starts going at least 5 innings, the longest in Mets history, comes to an end tonight. He had surpassed Dwight Gooden's 50. Coming off the DL, wasn't quite himself, G. High pop fly that's slicing toward the souvenir corner down in left field and will be well back.
Dick, I want to go back and ask Mark Sweeney. A lot of people were holding their breath, Mark Sweeney, when Upton slid into home plate.
I think it's to your point, too, Mark, and you see Justin Upton going feet first, and that's what you want to do, especially at home plate, because you see the catcher going over with his shin pads. If he goes head first into that in that back corner, he ends up with a hand injury for sure. But I love your point, because I love feet first slides. If you can master that, you should probably implement that into your game.
Middlebrooks at first base with a 2-run single. And 3-1 to Spangenberg. During his minor league career, Leathersich a strikeout hurler. He struck out 15 plus batters per 9 innings during his minor league career. Fly ball left field, hit pretty well, but Siciliani is out there. And Middlebrooks back to first base for the Padres. 1 away. Alexi Amarista has a single in 2 trips and has scored a run. Now the Padres looking for a win tonight that will square them on the season. Their record at home at 15-15. Just 1 game under 500 on the road. Late swing, watch out. Reds and Philadelphia playing tonight, and Mike Leake from Fallbrook with a no-hitter into the 7th inning. Another outstanding pitching job by him. Another foul, Amarista. Detroit lost again. They've dropped 5 in a row. San Francisco's lost 5 in a row. So has Seattle. Dodgers and Colorado finally, after a long rain delay, are underway, and the Rockies scored a run in the 1st inning. Tap back to the mound. Leathersich to first base with Middlebrooks moving up. And that'll bring James Shields to the plate. Shields has popped to third and sacrificed. Padres with the crooked numbers, 2 in the 1st, 2 in the 4th, 3 here in the 5th. 7 a lucky number. 7-2 win last night.
I'll tell you what, that last play, Leathersich throws over to first base. Watch Lucas Duda. If you're a fast runner, run him over. Look at, he's in the baseline, and then he gets the ball, and then he retreats towards fair territory. I tell you, he's going to get run over someday if he, You get a fast runner.
I got a sense that if he heard somebody coming, he's going to move out of the way. But he did just kind of hang out.
Yeah.
Little ninja didn't deter that. 1-1. So the Padre batting order, everyone in the lineup with a base hit except Norris and Shields, and Norris has reached safely twice on errors. And in fact, he had a base hit aimed for center field the last time up, but G threw out a leg and slowed it down, and it carried him right to the shortstop, and instead of a single, became a 1-6-3 double play. Did he go? Yes. 2-2. Philadelphia rallied in the last couple of innings and actually beat Cincinnati 5-4. In there, strike 3. But the Padres, 3 runs on 3 hits and an error. And Justin Upton with a base hit, Kemp with a base hit, and the play at the plate. Throwing error, and the Padres get 2 more on Middlebrooks' single for a 7th spot. Yonder Alonso hit by a pitch, and that's how the Padres got their first run. Bases loaded. Matt Kemp with the play of the game, a double play, a line drive, a great throw to third to double up Siciliani and keep the Mets off the scoreboard. The Padres, Alonso, a comebacker. G throws it away awkwardly. Upton scores, and then Middlebrooks follows with a 2-run single. Kemp and Alonso scoring, and it's 7-0. Interestingly, as we look at the numbers, G, 4 of the 7 runs earned. Shields, just a couple of hits in 5 innings. Middlebrooks, 3 RBIs. Venable with a couple of runs batted in. So here's James Shields. If he wins tonight, he'll be 7-0. And the score here after 5, 7-0. John Mayberry will be the pinch hitter for the relief pitcher Leathersich. Unlike his father, a right-handed hitter, and he takes a breaking ball, just misses. Mayberry pinch hit last night and struck out. Another breaking ball in there. So G, 4+ innings, 7 runs, 4 earned, 8 hits, 1 walk, 1 hit batsman, 1 strikeout. in the dirt, 2-1. Mayberry, then the leadoff man Granderson and Tejada for the Mets in the 6th. The Mets are just at the start of a significant road trip. After 3 here, they go to Arizona for 4 starting tomorrow night. And then home against the Giants, Atlanta, and Toronto. Two balls, 2 strikes to Mayberry. Steady diet of breaking stuff from Shields to Mayberry. Hitting just 137, only 7 hits and 51 at bats.
Yeah, this is a situation where James Shields on his game would like to make short work of a pinch hitter, that being John Mayberry. Working the count full.
Mayberry 1 for 11 as a pinch hitter. And he walked him. The last thing Shields wanted to do with a 7-0 lead, walk the leadoff man, but that's the way it is. Top of the order, Granderson. A walk and a fly out to left.
Well, the next pitch for James will be 70. He's the type of pitch, though, after a leadoff walk like that. Sure, he's going to be ticked off. He can make an adjustment with the best of them. Forget about that and make a good quality pitch here. And maybe even pick him off.
Pretty close. As we mentioned early on, Shields with a remarkable record in the final game of a series. The last game of a series, when he's pitched that game in his career, he is 48-24. Amazing. 3-0 this year, trying to make it 4-0. You got a rubber game? Get James Shields warmed up.
Yep.
Ground ball right side. Spangenberg will get the force there, and that's all. Granderson easily beating out the relay. Well, the lead man retired 4-6, and that'll bring up Ruben Tejada. A reminder, closed captioning for all our games brought to you by Wiener Schnitzel.
Mark Grant, I wanted to ask you a question, and down here you see the emotions of James Shields working for him, and when he goes through situations like walking the first hitter, gets aggravated himself. Anyone come to mind that it really uses that to an advantage? I think of Jake Peavy right off the bat.
Yeah.
How do guys really do that emotionally on the mound?
Good call, Mark. And I think that maturity and confidence has a big part of that and dealing with some emotions. It's fine if a pitcher gets mad like James Shields. He shows some emotion. I love that. I really do. How quickly.
Line drive and fair ball just inside the line off the bat of Tejada. Granderson running all the way, and they're going to wave him home on a double by Tejada. There goes the shutout. It's 7-1. Tejada's 9th RBI of the season.
You know, over the course of time, James Shields has shown some emotion on the mound, and he's bounced back to make a good pitch. I think that's where he wanted that pitch, quite frankly. Derek Norris was set up inside. Unfortunately, it's a double. But I think he's good enough to erase it from his mind and make a good pitch like a lot of good pitchers can at the big league level. I played with a guy, not a household name, but remember Charlie Lebrand. He was a guy, if he gave up a home run, you could bet the next guy was going to get out. He had some uncanny way of just forgetting about it and making a good quality pitch. I think James Shields does that. Jake Peavy, sure he gets emotional, but he can make the next pitch a good one to get out of a jam.
And with that run scoring, good reason to be mad at himself because the leadoff walk has come around to be a run. Duda 2-0 on the big first baseman who has fly to right and struck out.
Now, there are other situations where pitchers, they get really mad at themselves. They can't rebound. Then they start to throw harder. Oh, I'll show you. Next thing you know, you're backing up third. You give it up a 5 spot. Next thing you know, you're in the clubhouse with ice on your arm.
3-0 to Duda.
And ice in your martini. A see-through.
You could pretty much apply that to a lot of sports. Some athletes use anger, upset, to motivate them. I think of John McEnroe in tennis. I mean, he was better when he was mad.
That's a great example. You're right. You can't be serious.
No, but he seriously won that day at Wimbledon. Left field and shallow. Upton has to hurry, and he can't get there. Over to third goes Tejada. So the Mets have something going here. Run home. Couple of hits, first and third, and then one swing away, the Mets from getting themselves back into this contest.
I don't know whether Justin didn't get a good jump on this. I don't know whether sliding into home plate, maybe the legs are barking a little bit. I don't know whether it's the dusk part of the evening here where, it's not total darkness yet. Who knows? Maybe he just got a bad jump on that ball, but it falls in front of him for the base knock.
Brings up Daniel Murphy, a single and a ground out to first. Infield back looking for a double play chance to bail Shields out of this inning. Not as sharp here in the 6th inning. Shields had retired coming into the inning 11 in a row. But the leadoff walk. RBI double Tejada. Now the single Duda. Lead reduced to 6. Runners at the corners for the Mets. 1 out. Ground ball to second. Could be 2. Spangenberg. Amarista back to first. A double play. Made to order. And the Padres do back up Shields pitching by the double play to end the inning. Oh my. It's a thing of beauty. 4, 6, 3. Padres pilot on the Mets with an 11-run 6th inning. Inning includes back-to-back home runs by the Padres' Chris Gomez, Ricky Henderson, and Kilby Alvarez. The 11-run inning remains tied for the most runs in one inning on opening day since 1926. A hit fest on opening day for the Padres. New pitcher, Eric Goodell for the Mets, and he'll face the top of the Padre order.
And Mark Sweeney was teammates with those guys, and That was a good day at the ball yard.
It was, guys, and I came late in that summer, but the moment that I saw those home runs, I thought of Ricky Henderson picking his jersey after he hit that home run. You know, he just went to this and started doing his little dance out of the batter's box, and always puts a smile on your face. But Chris Gomez and also Kilvio Veras, great teammates.
Venable, then Norris and Upton for the Padres in the 6th against the new pitcher Goodell, former UCLA star, and he's done well this year. Opposing batters hitting 197.
Starting off Will Venable with a big curveball to go along with the fastball, and they split 91-96 from Goodell.
Out of play. That was quite a pitching staff for UCLA. Goodell was the relief pitcher or 4th pitcher in the rotation. The other 3, Garrett Cole, Trevor Bauer, and Rob Rasmussen, all made it to the major leagues.
Wow.
What a staff.
Yeah. Have you ever gone up to Jackie Robinson Stadium up there, UCLA?
I have not seen. Back when I was coaching, they played over at the Veterans Field.
It's a nice little facility they got there.
On television, it looks really good.
Yeah.
Jackie Robinson. 2-1, Venable. 2-run single the last time up. Good take, 3-1.
He likes to throw that curveball. He'll throw it early in the count. He'll just throw it there and missed.
Up the middle, another base hit for Venable. He continues his fine hitting. He's raised his average in the last 22 games from 133 to 260, a 137-point hike. And he's 2 for 4 tonight.
Hey, Mark Sweeney, you know what I like about this at bat is that Goodell going soft early, later, and then Will Venable turning that fastball around. It's not a mediocre fastball at all either. It's taking it right up the center.
Yeah, and I love that too. And you think about what Will Venable is doing very well. He's hitting off the fastball. He's taking those good breaking balls for balls and then getting in a situation where he does have that fastball to go after.
2 for 4 tonight, raising his average to 269, Venable.
Guys, you think of collectively what a group is doing, and they're executing a game plan. Obviously, Jacob deGrom, the first pitcher for the Mets this series, had a fabulous night. But then moving forward, they've changed their ways, and you could see they're hitting off the fastball much more as a collective group.
9 hits tonight, 7 runs. Norris safe on an error by Tejada at third and scored in the first. Safe again on a throwing error by Tejada in the third. And grounded into a 1-6-3 double play in the fourth. And the Padres, part of their success, using the center of the field these last 2 nights. A lot of base hits up the middle. Inside, 2-1. That'll make it into the crowd on the first base side. And here's the trade we talked about earlier. Wellington Castillo, the former catcher for the Cubs, traded to Seattle this year. And Dominic Leone and a couple of minor leaguers go to Arizona. And the big name in the trade, Mark Trumbo. And Nuno, the pitcher, to the Northwest. Big contract, Trumbo, part of that deal.
Yeah.
Another foul. Trying to shoot the ball to right field, Derek Norris.
Mark Sweeney, do you read into anything differently regarding that Diamondback-Mariner trade?
Well, I think what happens is I think Mark Trumbo is that power right-handed bat that I think a lot of people are seeking. But the Diamondback situation in the outfield, they have a lot of surplus in the outfield and a lot of playing time issues. Yasmani Tomas goes to the outfield now where he gets away from third base, which I thought he was a liability. So it just opens up another spot for them in the outfield.
Yeah, not a lot of range over there at third.
And with Montero being traded away in the offseason, Castillo comes back to give them a solid catcher.
Yeah, and Tuffy Gosowicz went down with a torn ACL for them. So that was their starting catcher to start the year, and now adding that catcher is definitely important for the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Arizona playing very well of late. They won again today, outscoring Atlanta 9-8. So they've moved to within 2 games of 500, 25-27. They're only a half game behind the Padres. Inside corner, says plate umpire Barrett, strike 3. First strikeout for Eric Goodell.
Is it the curveball? Looks like a changeup. That's actually a split finger fastball that Goodell throws.
Right, it just touched the black.
Yeah.
Upton walked and scored in the first, safe on a fielder's choice in the third, and singled and scored in the fifth. Stole his 11th base, the only player in the National League with at least 10 home runs and 10 stolen bases. Justin Upton. Strike 1, breaking ball. 7-1, the Padres lead here in the home half of the 6th inning.
See, guys, there's the split. He gets that grip before he puts it in his glove, so it's easy to adjust with the other pitches.
And it looked as if you could see him make that adjustment. There's enough movement there. I wonder if that can't be picked up by the hitter or somebody in the dugout.
You know what a lot of pitchers will do? They'll fan that glove back and forth on every single time that they go in to their glove.
Yeah, the Hall of Famer Tom Seaver remembered.
Yeah. Remember Ryan Dempster, Mark Sweeney, Dick Enberg? He moved his glove quite a bit all the time.
Yeah, I think a lot of pitchers try to do that, to try to mask that, because if they do anything with their glove, it's definitely going to be a change, and hitters will pick up on that, especially veteran hitters. You'll see some veteran teams come in here. They'll sit on certain pitches because the tendencies of the pitchers that they give away will tip on those type of pitches.
And so a pitcher will get the sign, as Mark mentioned, here's the grip, and they'll go in and they'll do this with their glove every time. They'll just fan it, and they'll go two-seam, they'll go curveball. They'll do it every single time. Let's see if he does anything with his glove as he goes up to his glove after getting the sign.
See if you can read the pitch here.
See how he's kind of squeezing.
Yeah,
so he does do that, yeah.
Inside, 2-2.
And that looked like a split finger there at 84. So he was doing that even though he kept the same grip going into his glove. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Let's see if Record puts down fastball away. And he's still wiggling his glove as he adjusts to the fastball grip.
Ground ball up the middle, base hit. Using the middle of the field again is Upton, and that sends Venable easily to third base. And with one out, the Padres threaten to get that run back. Second hit for Upton tonight.
I'll tell you what, the hit was nice, but Will Venable, that kid's a gazelle. He is fun to watch going first to third. And Dick, you mentioned about 3 or 4 games ago the strides, the long strides, and the smooth strides. As we take a look at the smooth swing from Justin Upton and watching Venable going from first to third. He's fun to watch.
You know, he has the stride of somebody running the 4x100 relay. You know, when you see them run, or maybe better yet, the 4x400. That kind of loping stride, effortless.
Yeah,
beautiful to watch. First and third for Matt Kemp, who's 2 for 3 tonight. Scored a run. Padres have hit double figures in the hit column, though. 7 runs, 10 hits. Last night, 7 runs, 14 hits. Alonso Powell chatting with Alexi. No, that's Jan Solarte.
Another split finger. That's why you need a good secondary lead there at third base for Will Venable. You get that split finger in the dirt, you are off to the races at home scoring. Also at first base for Justin Upton.
1-2, and another split finger. Yonder Alonso on deck. Runners at the corners here. 1 out in the 6th. Mets scored their only run in the top half of this inning. 7-1. Padres endeavoring to get it back.
Here comes another split.
And another swing and a miss. Second strikeout for Goodell. And it's up to Alonso.
This is one of those pitches where you can throw it toward the heart of the plate. You can see how far out in front. Matt Kemp out of the arm was reading arm swing fastball out of the hand. Split finger way out in front, nearly bringing him to his knees.
Alonso hit by a pitch with the bases loaded for the Padres' first run back in the first inning. Singled sharply to right field in the 3rd, safe on a fielder's choice in the 5th inning. That was the play where the pitcher G threw away a comebacker. Upton scoring and everyone moving up 2nd and 3rd, and Middlebrooks then knocking a 2-run single to right center. It's a steady diet of split fingers, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And that's the curveball.
Yeah, he threw that earlier. I remember him throwing it to Will Venable early. Broke out the split finger. Now going back to the old deuce. Nice to see the Padres get one here, huh, Dick, with 2 outs?
Yeah. Venable 90 feet away, up the air at first. And a fly ball to right field, charging is Granderson, and he makes the play. Oh, a couple of hits, but no more for the Padres. It remains 7-1. Strikeouts tonight.
And what James Shields got working for him, he's locating the fastball. We know about the curveball, and went ahead, he'll bounce it. And also the changeup. And also, we mentioned when his back is up against the wall, he can make that one pitch to get out of it. Rolls a double play right there. Hey, the Mets are popping the ball up. They're putting the ball on the ground. That means that James Shields is changing speeds, keeping the ball down in a nice 78-pitch effort so far. Only one run allowed for the right-hander.
And it was the only, well, one of 2 walks that he's allowed that came around to score for the Mets in the 6th. Flores, Siciliani, and Lagares for New York in the 7th. Another quality start for Shields. Fastball inside. Lagares lined out to left his last time up, grounded out to third his first at bat. One and one.
I'll tell you what, with that being the 80th pitch, James Shields can smell 8 innings plus probably.
Oh, knowing him, he'd like the CG.
Absolutely.
How about checking our Cholula flamethrower?
Oh, it's always fun to watch, and depends on who's on the hill for James Shields. 93, not quite muy caliente, so I'm going to go mild chunky. Still effective. It's all about hitting your spots and changing speeds, and that's exactly what James Shields has done tonight.
Broken bat, looper to left. That's going to fall in front of Upton. A base hit for Flores. And the 5th hit tonight for New York.
That was a changeup, but just not down enough, and Flores breaks his bat on that hit.
Brings up Siciliani, double to right and grounded to first. He was hitting .336 in Las Vegas, their AAA farm club, when called up by the Mets. Brandon Maurer first up in the Padre pen. That hit him. Breaking ball coming in on Siciliani, hit by a pitch. So first 2 men on for the Mets here in the 7th.
Time now for the tools of the trade, brought to you by Ram Trucks. And it was the defense of Matt Kemp backing up on that fly ball. Siciliani tries to make it to third. Will Middlebrooks blocks the outside part of the third base bag. Siciliani can't get his hand there. Slaps a tag on the back. There, out. Hand not on the bag yet. Hey, a couple of tools showing off there. One is the arm of Kemp, the accuracy of the arm of Kemp, and also Will Middlebrooks with his footwork and his glove work around the third base bag. Nicely done, gentlemen.
Well, Shields got out of the last inning with just 1 run scoring. Runners at first and third, double play ball. Now the first 2 men aboard here in the 7th. Flores on the broken bat single and Siciliani hit by a pitch. Lagares, he was the hitter that lined out to Kemp, and then Kemp turned it into a double play back in the 2nd inning with his throw to third. He struck out the last time, Lagares. Fly ball to right. Kemp to the line, across the line, makes the catch, tagging Flores. He'll move to third, holding at first is Siciliani. 1 away. And the batter's the catcher, Anthony Recker. Good name for a catcher, isn't it?
Yeah,
Recker.
absolutely. Tough name.
Without the W, but it still sounds pretty tough. Yep. You better be if you're going to put on that catching gear. Pitcher due next. Eric Campbell is in the on deck circle.
Well, only 34 at-bats prior to this game for Recker, and I'm guessing, being a catcher, a pretty good chance for a double play candidate. So if James Shields work down in the zone, try to get a grounder, take your chances that way.
Up the middle, base hit for Record. In comes Flores, and over to second, Siciliani. It's 7-2. Record's third RBI of the season. Just punched the ball. Actually, had made a stride and able to keep his hands back and just drive it up the middle.
Another breaking ball that just didn't go down enough, not located down in the zone enough. And when the body drifts and the hands start to drift a little bit, if that ball is elevated like that one, you have a better chance of serving it to center field. And that's exactly what happened.
So James Shields, after dominating for 5 innings, ran into trouble in the 6th, gave up a run and was bailed out on the double play ball. Now here in the 7th, single hit batsman, a fly ball out, and a single to drive in a run to make it 7-2. This may be a case of Bud Black and James Shields debating how much do I have left. And Bud Black saying, okay, keep the ball. 2 on, 1 out. And here's the pinch hitter, Eric Campbell.
I think that may have also been a little bit of a refresher course as far as a scouting report going over Eric Campbell.
Hitting just 179 as a pinch hitter, 0 for 3. Ooh, good backhanded pickup by Norris. Top of the order, Granderson to follow. Again, a perfect spot for that ground ball should Shields serve up one to Campbell. First and second. 90 on the fastball.
I think when Bud Black came out to that mound, James Shields took that baseball and stuck it in his back pocket. There was no way he was going to give that up. And I don't think that was Buddy's intention. He just wanted to make sure, give him a little bit of a breather.
Ground ball to third. Could be 2. Middlebrooks to second for 1. Back to first base. A double play. They've done it again. Around the horn, and the Padres again serve Shields well. It goes 5, 4, 3. A double play. Brought to you by Mercury Insurance. Now log on to mercuryinsurance.com and see how much you could save. And by Petco. What we feed them matters. Historic heart of San Diego, Gaslamp District. Nearby, we're in Petco Park. And it's time now for the San Diego fans of the game. Young and old. Great to have you here tonight. Great memories. I know that you feel that way. I certainly do.
Absolutely.
Memories of going to the ballpark with Dad and Mom.
Nothing like it. And it never gets old.
Yeah, and then you go home, you talk about the game, then you watch the game together on television. Sean Gilmartin, he closed out the win by the Mets in the opener of this series as he pitched the 9th inning back of Jacob deGrom and retired the Padres in order. Middlebrooks, Spangenberg, and Marista for the Padres.
Battery mates going over the outing for James Shields. Derek Norris doing a lot of the talking there. I love that.
Middlebrooks high in the air to center field. Lagares looking up into the night. One away. Spangenberg 1 for 3. Padres with 2 hits. Venable, Upton, and Kemp. Middlebrooks with 3 RBIs. Spangenberg singled in the 4th inning. That started the 2-run 4th. Amarista followed with a single. They both came home on Venable's base hit.
Now bench coach Dave Roberts having a chat with James Shields.
He's worked his 7 innings. The way the dugout's acting, that'll be it for Shields. Big wave, 1-1. In there, 1-2.
Hey, one of the reasons being a big leaguer, you want to pitch in the big leagues, right? But hey, kids, how about getting all the gumballs you want? That's why you want to make it to the big leagues. Every night, you get to take as many of those as you want.
And you did. Double bubble. Well, that's the good stuff. Don't try that other ingredient that does nothing but damage to your mouth.
Good call.
A ball, 2 strikes to Spangenberg. Waved that and missed the breaking ball. First strikeout for Gilmartin.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the San Diego Padres and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the San Diego Padres.
Well, there's one of the fans, and there's a couple more in the crowd of 24,398 tonight. 24398. Glad to have you here. Hope you had a good time at Petco, and come back and see us the next homestand. The Dodgers for 3, the Oakland A's for 2. And Marista takes that slow curveball out of the zone. He has a single in 3 at-bats and a run scored. Dodgers and Rockies are tied in the 3rd. Fly ball shallow left center. Look, Garris, he can go get him with the best. After 7, Padres 7, and Mets 2.
Padres on top of the Mets, top of the 8th inning. Mark and Mike working on Padres Live, the postgame show, which will be brought to you by Cox Communications. James Shields, another strong outing by the ace, getting some help behind him as well.
Mike, we talked about on our pregame show, high leverage situations, why James Shields, and you love him because he makes a pitch when he has to. James Shields tonight, when he was real good, he got that double play ball, the 2 big situations, and then has conversations of what he can do next.
Yeah, competitor.
He's a true ace.
Yeah, he really is, and he's doing a heck of a job as the Padres hoping to hold on here, pick up a home series win when we see you in a post-game show, Dick and Mark. We're also going to have Fox Sports San Diego MLB insider Scotty Miller with us, and he's going to tell us why the Reds are in real trouble. That's coming up after the final out.
Yeah, they had a lead tonight and couldn't hold on in Philadelphia. Padres go to Cincinnati Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Brandon Maurer takes the hill. He now has appeared in more games than any Padre pitcher, his 24th. Benoit and Thayer with 23.
Throwing the ball extremely well. High leverage games, leads, close games. He's been throwing the ball extremely well.
Opposing batters hitting only 163. Whoa, took Granderson only 3 pitches to get rid of him.
Oh, look at the tilt and the bite on this last pitch, being the slider from Morrow. Boy, he's on a mission. Look at him. See the confidence just oozing from the right-hander. Starts towards the middle of the plate, ends up down by the back foot. Swing and a miss.
Tejada, an RBI double in 3 at-bats. Maurer has allowed only 2 hits over his last 7 innings. And as you pointed out, with each outing, you can just see the building confidence. Fired from the Mariners, the Seth Smith deal. Over but low. Tejada's had a good series, 6 hits. Duda on deck. That's in there, levels the count.
That slider is biting like a mule. Have you ever gotten bitten by a mule?
No, not recently.
I fed a carrot to a horse once and did it the wrong way, and he bit my fingers. You're supposed to have open palm, right?
Yeah.
Like that. But I'm fingers up, and I got my fingers bit.
Well, you shouldn't wear that orange nail polish.
But he's getting on top of that. He's pulling. He's getting good rotation, and that slider's just...
The mule is?
Yeah, that too. That was a hanger right there.
Base hit to right field. Tejada continues. 7 hits in the 3-game series. Chris Button, what do you have for us?
Well, yesterday Tyson Ross met with some kids as part of the play campaign to teach them about how to live a healthy lifestyle, not just working out, but also eating healthy. And let me tell you, there is no one who takes better care of themselves than Tyson Ross. Not just his workout regime, but the way he eats, all organic, has it brought into the clubhouse. So trying to teach those kids how to eat properly, work out properly, and take care of themselves.
Yeah, that's great. Good man.
That's a good kid right there in Tyson Ross.
Soft-spoken, hard thrown. Lucas Duda, a single in 3 at-bats. And he gets hit. You want to do that with a 7-2 lead. Now a couple of men on for Daniel Murphy.
Interesting.
Back of the thigh.
Got away from him. First hit batsman by Brandon Morrow this year.
Moves Tejada to second. Brings up Murphy with Flores moving into the on-deck circle. Murphy singled his first time up. Grounded to first in the 4th and wrapped into a double play 4-6-3 in the 6th. That was a big double play. Runners at first and third at the time. Ball 1. 95 on the fastball. Like Tejada, he's had a good series, 5 for 11. Weekly hit to short, one play, and that's it right there. Due to going into Spangenberg. And safe on the fielder's choice, Murphy. First and third with 2 outs now. Let's go back to the keys to the game, brought to you by your San Diego Honda dealers.
Rattled G early. Oh, word up on that. 4 innings, 8 hits, 7 runs allowed, yo. And keep spreading the wealth. Padres, 7 different players with at least 1 hit. Professor, you've got the red pen out?
Yeah, you've. I'm not going to give you an A+, but that's an A. No, that's an A.
Thank you.
That's an A. And that's going to bring your grade point average up.
Above 2.
Ground ball to third. Middlebrooks has it go off his chest. Does he have time to throw to first? He does, and makes the play. What an arm. Off balance, he buggy whips that throw across and makes amends for the bobble and denies Flores and the Mets a run. And James Shields and the Padres 3 outs away from a big win, and Shields would then move up to 7-0 on the season, the only pitcher in baseball with that many wins and no defeats, as we've gone through 2 months without him losing a game. Ted Churko leads it off, but grounds right to the shortstop. Across the way, Flores for 1 pitch, 1 out. Bill Martin's still in there for the Mets. Churko's been the most successful Padre pinch hitter. He was 4 for 11 before that at bat. Off day tomorrow. Got to get the bags packed tonight for Cincinnati. And on Friday night, 3:30 is our TV time here on Fox Sports San Diego. Tyson Ross against Raisel Iglesias of the Reds. He's 1-1 with a 5.11 ERA. So Ross shoots for his 3rd win of the season on Friday night. Ground ball, 2 pitches, 2 outs. As Venable out unassisted. And that'll bring up Derek Norris. Let's take a look at the National University standings in the NL Central. St. Louis Cardinals, their usual perch atop the division. 6 games in front of Pittsburgh, 7 in front of the Cubs, then Cincinnati 12 back. And Milwaukee struggling 17.5 off the pace.
Ooh, offensively, the Reds 11th in the National League in batting average, 12th in ERA. Things aren't going well in the Queen City.
Finally, the Padres going to play someone with a losing record. 55 games, and only 8 times they faced a team that was under 500. Norris safe twice on errors by the third baseman Tejada. He has struck out and grounded into a double play. Craig Kimbrell, who's not had a chance to pitch for almost a week, needs to knock off some rust. And with an off day tomorrow, this is a perfect time. Ninth inning, it'll be Siciliani, Lagares, and Recker for the Mets. Another ground ball. Charging Flores. 5 pitches, 3 outs, and the Mets will come up in the 9th, down by 5. And it features the pitching of James Shields, who goes 7 innings, a quality start, 2 runs, 6 hits, and 4 strikeouts. A couple of nice double plays to support him when in trouble. And that's a pitcher knowing how to induce that ground ball. The Bill Howe plays of the game. We're out in Solana Beach. Mark ran today and pulled up at a stoplight. Not one, but 2 Bill Howe trucks, those beautiful white trucks. Yeah. Oh, they were doing some work today.
Fixing some leaks, huh?
He knows how, you know.
Tell you what, James Shields fixed some leaks tonight.
Plumbing and air conditioning now as we're getting into warmer weather. I couldn't, I wanted to roll down the window and say, hey, been talking about you guys. Keep up the good job. Good work. So, Craig Kimbrell, a non-safe situation, but getting some needed work.
Yeah, you made a good point just last half inning to get him out there with the off day tomorrow, get a good workout, a clean inning with the 5-run lead. It's been since last Friday against the Pirates when Craig Kimbrell was on the hill.
And this next road trip will take him back home to Atlanta, although he seems very happy renting a place in Del Mar while he's a Padre. Siciliani has doubled, grounded out, and was hit by a pitch the last time. Broken bat. He sawed off Siciliani. Spangenberg throws him out. 1 pitch, 1 out. So there's the schedule here in June. Cincinnati, then 4 in Atlanta next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then right back against the Dodgers on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the 12th, 13th, and 14th. Still some good seats available. There are going to be some large crowds for that series. Then it'll be good to see the Oakland A's in the American League on Monday and Tuesday night, the 15th and 16th. So we play Oakland here, too, and then go right up to Oakland and play them next series.
The swinging A's.
98 on that fastball. That's about where he's been firing it most of the year.
Oh, yeah, that's muy caliente. As we take it, the Fox Sports San Diego drone driven by Michael Odino piloting.
Yeah.
Oh, hammer time.
You say he's a drone? Odino's
He's
a drone?
piloting
Oh,
the drone.
piloting it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You'll see that move a lot, shake a lot, like a lot of whip pans when he's driving.
Yeah. No, that looks pretty
Pretty
good.
still
there.
right there. He's having a good day.
2 strikes. Oh, man. 99 blows down Lagares. He's saying, get me out of here. 3-pitch strikeout.
Uno, dos, adios. Take a hike. Not even close. Bring it to your knees.
Serious high heat. Anthony Recker singled in a run in the 7th inning. He's 1 for 3. '99 again. Fans watching the pitch and then the quick look at the scoreboard where they measure on the radar gun the speed of the pitch. And they're rooting as if not only to get the game over, they want to see 3 digits up there. 99 again.
I'll tell you what, last time he was out there on Friday, he is sharp as ever.
5 straight fastball strikes. Got Lagares and now 0-2 to record. A 100 on that pitch, fouled off by Record. Good thing we don't have that Cholula commercial right now. You'd be breathless for a week.
Couldn't speak. Maybe that's a good thing.
That's 6 straight fastballs, all in the strike zone. It would just be unfair to throw a curveball to Record. He did, and he did not go, says first base umpire Scott. Oh, they just don't want to finish the game on a check swing strikeout.
They want it legit?
Yeah.
Well, here it comes.
He definitely went around. 1-2. That somersaults him out of the batter's box. You're not going to hang around to see if that ball breaks. 99.
Yeah, you know, that ball's coming in hot, and it's really not that close when you look at it from center field, but still, as I mentioned, up around 100 miles an hour. I don't care if it's 2 feet away from your head. That's going to make you do a little matrix.
Two and 2. Ground ball to third by Middlebrooks into left field. So Recker hangs in there, jumps back to his feet and singles to left field. His second hit tonight.
Well, Will goes to his left, and you'll see this ball just under his glove.
Well, they're not going to call that a hit. That's
E5?
ruled an error. First error for the Padres tonight. The Mets were guilty of 3. The catcher, Plawecki, is the batter, and he loops that foul out of play. Kevin Plawecki started the first 2 games of the series behind the plate. Alonso not holding on the runners, so he'll move to second. 1-1. Defensive indifference. A ball and a strike, and out away from sealing the victory, Craig Kimbrell, and the series win over the Mets. First series win at home in more than a month. Fly ball hit well to right field. Kemp, a long run, can't get there. It's all the way to the wall. Scoring his record. A double for the pinch hitter Plawecki. Well, this has happened so often this year. Kimbrel, when he comes in a non-safe situation, blowing down the opposition, and then something happens. A walk, this time an error, and then a base hit.
It's a fastball, and Plawecki knows that Kimbrel throws about 100. He just gets that barrel of the bat started, gets it squared up. Kimbrel supplying the power on that one.
And it's a 7-3 ball game. Leadoff man Granderson 0 for 3. He walked to open the ball game.
You try to pull that pitch, you're going to run into trouble. He approached that one very nicely.
Plawecki at second base with 2 outs. Inside 99. And it's innings like this that give you that misleading information statistically. The ERA of Kimbrel, it's 4.74 despite all those saves, 12 of them. 98, 2-0. The game going back should have been over. The record was not called out on that check swing. So 16th pitch coming up for Kimbrel. Three and oh. Ruben Tejada on deck, and then the home run hitting Lucas Duda. He's the man that would worry you most because he'd represent the tying run. Boy, all around the plate, but not in the strike zone. A 4-pitch walk to Granderson. First free ticket from Kimbrel. And that brings up Tejada. 2-hit night for the Mets third baseman, an RBI double and a single the last time. Should Tejada reach safely, and Duda, who leads the team in home runs with 9, would represent the tying run. Another miss. That's 5 straight. Siciliani, broken bat, ground out easily. Start the inning. Liguera struck out. Error by Middlebrooks. RBI double. Plawecki and a walk. And that's 6 straight balls thrown by Kimbrel. And now this crowd of 24,398 standing for a long time, hoping that Kimbrel can finish the business here. Now a bit nervous here at Petco Park, the locals. Line drive, that's going to fall for a base hit. Up and up with it. Runners will move up 90. And watch out, the base is loaded, and the top home run hitter for the New York Mets coming to the plate. All with 2 outs. Error, double, walk, single. Tejada's third hit of the night.
And he fights off a fastball on the inside part of the plate. And this is exactly what the Mets were trying to do going into this inning. It's a little breather.
Aaron Balsley, you can just see his demeanor exuding confidence in his pitcher. That's what he wants, the message he wants to send. Benoit getting ready in the bullpen. Duda, with the bases loaded, in his career, .444 batting average, 1 home run. Against Kimbrel, 1 for 11. That one, a home run. Bases loaded, 2 outs. Way out of the strike zone. Suddenly, Craig Kimbrell scuffling here in the 9th inning. A run home, bases full.
Sometimes pitchers in this situation try to make too good of a pitch, and then the next thing you know, you're behind 2-0, 3-1. I'll tell you one thing, Duda's trying to look for a fastball in a certain area.
Ball 2. Daniel Murphy, a tough out, is on deck. Joaquin Benoit now getting loose in a serious manner. Both pitches well off the plate. That's a strike. Bottom of the strike zone, right at the knees. 2-1. Duda is flied out, struck out, single to left, and was hit by a pitch. Shift on, 3 men on the right side. Strike 2, 99. And he got a break there. That pitch was a little inside. 99 miles an hour to level the count at 2-2. Does he have another strike in him? Ground ball into the shift. Spangenberg to first, and the ball game is over. A bit touch and go in the 9th, but Kimbrell gets the final out. And the final score tonight, San Diego 7, New York 3. Mike Pomeranz.
Dick, thank you very much. We'll be seeing just a couple of moments on the post-game show. James Shields needed to get it done. He does get it done. Picks up his 7th consecutive win. Great job by James. A full breakdown in a moment.